I see the battle against us and the battle against our Judeo-Christian tradition basically being waged around the globe. And it's waged primarily by two forces, radical Shiite Islam and radical Sunni Islam. That means the axis that is led by Iran, much battered, admittedly, but still there, and the axis, the Sunni axis, led by the Muslim Brotherhood, which permeates everything. They go to Europe, they go to the United States, they go to Africa, Nigeria. And we are conscious of the fact that Christians are being persecuted across the Middle East, in Syria, in Lebanon, in Nigeria, in Turkey, and beyond. And we're also aware of the fact, as you are, that one country protects the Christian community, enables it to grow, defends it, and makes sure that it thrives, and that country is Israel. There is no other. None. We are joining an effort to have basically a united nations of countries that support Christian communities around the world, beleaguered communities who deserve our help. Just as you are helping us, we want to help back, and we're capable of doing that. In Africa with intel, in the Middle East with a lot of means that I won't itemize each one. But this is what our agenda is. It's the main part of our agenda, and it's going to continue with greater force and greater might in this coming
47 years. Iran has had a policy of death to Israel, death to America. Its entire apparatus, its state structure has been sponsoring terrorism, sponsoring organizations around the world to kill Israelis, to kill Jews, to spread terror. And we've seen Iran spreading terror. We've seen them developing a ballistic missile program, and we've seen them develop a nuclear program. And when a country says that they want to destroy you, death to Israel, death to America, and they are trying to build a nuclear weapon, it's absolutely justified. Not only is it justified, it's a moral obligation for a country to take the action that is needed to stop the country, in this case Iran, who wants to destroy Israel. Iran has said they want to destroy Israel, and Iran is building a nuclear weapon to do that. Cannot allow that to happen. And so this is the most justified war in order to stop these people from developing a weapon in order for them to wipe us off the face of the earth.
You sidestepped my question, Ambassador. I asked you pointedly. Israel has a nuclear weapon. Iran is trying to build one. Is it justified to take away Iran's ability to build a nuclear weapon when Israel has one? If we want truly a nuclear-free world, why can't all of us just drop our nuclear weapons like South Africa stopped their own nuclear weapons program? So you have the nuclear weapon. You don't want Iran to have it. Is it justified what you're doing?
Well, firstly, Israel has never said that we have nuclear weapons. That's your statement. Israel's policy has always been that we won't be the first country to introduce nuclear weapons into the region. But the issue here is not about Israel. The issue here is about Iran. Iran is the only country in the world, in the United Nations, who expressly desires to wipe another country off the face of the earth. Iran has stated its very policy is to destroy Israel, is to wipe Israel off the map, is to make sure they kill every single person. And no regime, no country that has an express desire to destroy Israel, and it's not only an express desire, we've seen over 47 years they've taken all the actions they can in order for that to happen. We've seen them sponsor terror organizations. They were behind October the 7th massacre of Hamas. We've seen them sponsoring Hezbollah. We've seen them acting in Europe. We've seen them acting in Australia. We've seen them acting in Nigeria. We've seen these people acting all across the world in order to spread disturbance, for them to try and carry out and their aim of destroying Israel. And Israel will not allow another country to have nuclear weapons when they've expressly stated they want those weapons to destroy Israel.
But Israel is not a saint to themselves, because for all the terror you say Iran has carried out, Israel has also carried out that level of terror. And by one stretch, you've gone ahead to kill the supreme leader in Iran. So Israel too is not a saint in all of this. I yield the floor to you.
That's an absurd statement to make. Nigeria is the one. Nigeria has been on the receiving end of terrorism from Iran. We've seen Iran spreading terror throughout the world. Iran sponsors all of the major terror organizations in the world. If we look at Hamas, if we look at Hezbollah, if we look at the Houthis, if we look at the terror groups within Iraq, if we look at some of the other groups around the world, we have seen Iran carry out terror bombings in Argentina, where it blew up the Jewish community there. We've seen them carry out terror attacks in Bulgaria. We've seen them carry out terror attacks in the UK. We've seen them carry out attempted attacks in Australia. This is a country that sponsors terror, that is Revolutionary Guard is a proscribed terror group across all of Europe and many other countries around the world. It's quite clear that Iran is a nation, is an international sponsor of terror, and to make any other accusation or any other claim is absurd. And I would also add as one sentence, which we kind of forget, that less than 2 months ago, there were millions of people protesting against the Iranian regime, Iranians, who said, we're not happy with what's going on in the country. And the Iranian regime's response was to gun them down and to massacre them. And anywhere between 30 and 70,000 Iranians were shot dead for purely saying that they weren't happy with their government. Right. And this is an illegitimate government.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. Now, America has stated, well, the president has talked about the aim or what success would look like in this war to bring it to an end. A regime change is top of that agenda. What is Israel looking at from this war? I say this because back to the question around justification, there was no imminent threat or indication of an imminent attack on Israel by Iran. Number two is that there are critics that have said that you don't respond to, potential war with force. You respond with an attack with an attack. What would you have to say about that? Because even within, your country, a number of people have stated that perhaps it wasn't justified. Yes, you talked about threats being made here and there, but nothing, no imminent action or no imminent strike was done by Iran. So Israel made the first move. Is it justified? That's the big question on a number of people's lips.
Well, Israel absolutely did not make the first move. Iran has been making moves for 47 years. For 47 years, they've been sponsoring terrorism. They've been attacking Israel. They have been blowing up Jewish community centers. They've been blowing up embassies. They have been firing missiles. They've been sponsoring terror organizations. They have been attacking people in Bulgaria, in Australia, in the UK. So Iran has been running a campaign of terror and attempting to destroy Israel for 47 years. And their slogan is death to Israel, death to America. When you talked about an imminent threat, well, since the 12-day war last year, Iran has gone all in on trying to move all of its ballistic missile capacity underground. It has invested in restarting its nuclear program and moving that deep underground. And within a few weeks or months, that program would have been so deep underground that it would have been totally immune from any form of strike or any form of attack. And Iran said that they were building missiles, they were building nuclear weapons in order to attack Israel and to destroy Israel. So there's no question that this is justified. But going back to your question about aims, our aims are very clear. Our aims are to ensure that Iran does not have the capability to attack Israel and to wipe Israel off the map, which means we are going to destroy their ballistic missile capability, we are going to destroy their nuclear weapons capability, and we are going to weaken a regime and the structures of regime that carried out the massacre of 30 to 50,000 innocent Iranians who were protesting in the streets. And we will give the opportunity for the Iranian people to make a decision about the future of their country. It's not for us to decide what the leadership will be. It's for the Iranian people to make that decision. But we are going to eliminate the threat to Israel. We are going to eliminate the imminent threat to Israel that was being built by this Iranian regime. And we absolutely will continue to do that until we've achieved our aims.
All right. Well, I mean, some of the real concerns are around sort of the last part of your statement, which is that the Iranians are going to be allowed to choose their leadership. However, the dominant narrative, and we've heard so many comments from President Donald Trump as well, speaking about his preferable candidate, which makes this very clearly foreign-imposed regime change, which of course we know is illegal under international law. So, given in the context that in most cases where we've seen specifically U.S. intervention or intervention involving the United States with organizations like NATO, in this instance it's U.S.-Israel, what usually follows after these attacks on the so-called heavy-handed dictatorial regimes is more chaos. So my question to you is, why do you think this will be any different from all of the other hundreds of instances in history? Well, maybe not up to hundreds, but below, tens of instances in history where we've seen foreign intervention with U.S. involvement, military action in the name of trying to remove a regime that is said to be despotic and to be against the people. And then what follows is even more anarchy and leadership that doesn't represent the will of those people, but rather panders to the whims and the interests of the U.S. and its allies. How is this any different?
Well, the current regime in Iran does not represent the people. The people came out and spoke against the regime, and the answer of the regime was to shoot them all, to kill them all, to massacre them, and then to
Mr. Ambassador, if I may just interject, the numbers are disputed because human rights organizations are saying that the numbers being quoted by the United States are inflated, that those were people who were planted. In fact, there are some reports that are saying that those protests were led by proxy, but that the Iranians themselves, who are indoctrinated into this theocracy, support Khamenei and the current leadership, as we saw when they came out to mourn him when news of his death came out.
Well, actually, what we saw on television were spontaneous shows of delight and happiness, and Iranians coming out on the street. They were letting off fireworks, they were cheering, they were dancing. We've seen Iranian communities that are really free around the world, all across the world, coming out and supporting this and saying they want a better future. But the issue here again, and this is Iranian propaganda, that no credible organization, no credible human rights or other organization claims that there were less than 30,000 Iranians that were massacred. Everybody accepts that the Iranian regime massacred its people. The exact number no one knows, but the estimate ranges from 30,000 to 70,000. These were spontaneous protests, and the Iranian regime massacred them. And that's the issue here. The issue is that this regime is not only massacring its own people, but we've now seen what it's doing in the region. And you mentioned this on your show earlier. They've fired rockets at Turkey. They've now fired at Azerbaijan. They've fired at Kuwait. They've fired at Saudi Arabia, at Qatar, at the United Arab Emirates. They are fired at Saudi Arabia. This is an Iranian regime that is destabilizing the entire region. Iran is destabilizing, is causing major problems, and that is the reason that this Iranian regime is an illegitimate regime that is building weapons of mass destruction, that is building a missile system to terrorize the region. And we've seen they're extending their range of their missiles to Europe now to try and attack Europe and to further places as well. This is a dangerous regime that is spreading instability, that for 47 years, its entire raison d'etre has been, according to them, death to America, death to Israel. And therefore, the action that's being taken both by America and by Israel in this operation is to make sure that they cannot carry out their death to Israel, death to America.
Okay. I mean, Ambassador, I will not expect you to come here to accept that Israel has nuclear weapons without giving you the fact, but it's for you to deflect. Also, you were talking about Israel being a saint in all of this. I mean, we can go back historically, and I can tell you about the King David Hotel bombings, Argon and Shargon, and all the other atrocities. Even Gaza here, that Israel first denied the number of people killed in Gaza. Finally, they accepted the number. At first, they first said the numbers from the Gaza Health Ministry was wrong. Finally, they came around. Even what they're doing in the West Bank and all of that, and a lot of crimes, the Israeli army is being investigated for a lot of crimes, and we all know that. So if you think Israel is a saint, I mean, it's your, the ambassador. Hold on a minute. Let me finish. Do not interrupt me, Ambassador. Let me finish. All right. So you can go ahead and claim all of that. But the interesting part is also the hypocrisy I see. Only last year, when you had a 12-day war, You said, I mean, the words of Donald Trump, Israel allies, they had obliterated the nuclear program in Iran. So if the claim then is that it's been obliterated, the question is, why are you still saying they will build nuclear weapon? Is it that the obliteration was not obliterated enough, or you want to re-obliterate the obliteration? That's part of the hypocrisy. Please answer that, Ambassador.
Well, before I go on to the second part, I mean, really, some of the statements that you made in the beginning were outrageous and were absolutely based on no fact. To make some of these claims, for example, Israel still disputes the number of people that the Gaza Health Ministry, or in other words, Hamas, claim about Gaza. We absolutely do not accept those figures. I know there were reports in the paper that we did. That's just not true. And I can state that categorically now. And again, in that very complex war that the context of is, of course, that Hamas, sponsored by Iran, came across the border with thousands of terrorists, murdered, raped, tortured, and kidnapped thousands of Israelis. They murdered thousands of Israelis and kidnapped over 250 men, women, children, and babies, innocent civilians. That was the response, that Israel responded to that like any other country to defend ourselves. And in the course of a war is horrible, war is terrible. There were numbers of people killed within Gaza. I'm quite sure that there were civilians that were killed as well. And the death of any civilian is a tragedy. It doesn't matter which side those civilians were on. But we believe that the vast significant numbers within those were terrorists that were killed. And when we compare this to Mosul, or we compare this to Afghanistan, or we compare this to other combat that took place within built-up areas, you will find that Israel acted with more restraint, and was the ratio between combatant terrorists and civilian deaths was the lowest that there's ever been. But that's a different conversation that we're not having. Your question was about the 12-day war. And you're right, in the 12-day war, Israel and America destroyed and set back, rather, Iran's nuclear program. But over the last less than a year, the Iranian leadership, when Iran has no water, the people in Tehran haven't got water. They are dealing with one of the worst economic crises they've ever had. The Iranian leadership decided they were going to invest $1 billion, $1 billion with a B, into building a new nuclear program and investing in restarting and rebuilding their nuclear program by digging deeper under the ground, by looking to enrich uranium even further, by developing their missile program and their ballistic missile program. And in all of the negotiations with the Americans, the Iranians made very clear they were not prepared at any point to give up nuclear enrichment. They were not prepared to give up their ballistic missile program, and they were not prepared to stop sponsoring terror organizations throughout the region and throughout the world. And if you're in negotiations and one side says, well, I'm not prepared to even enter the conversation with you, then the negotiations end. And that's what happened. There was an attempt to negotiate with Iran. Iran refused to negotiate. They invested $1 billion into rebuilding their nuclear program. And so we've taken this action. If since June, the June war that you spoke about, the 12-day war that you spoke about, if Iran would have instead invested that $1 billion into its people, into its water structure, into the benefit of its civilians, rather than investing it in a nuclear program, rather than investing it in terrorists, rather than investing it in missiles, then we wouldn't be in this position that we're in today. But Iran chose over the last number of months to invest in destroying Israel and not invest in trying to help its own people.
I'm glad you end on the note of helping people. Let's talk about humanitarian casualty of this war. I'd like your statement on the school children, about 150 of them who were killed, the displaced people, escalating into a regional war, and the Gulf states that have been attacked by Iran based on the first attack by Israel and America. Your statement on these matters and concerns around violating the UN Convention on how wars should be run, and at risk of committing war crimes.
Israel, and obviously I speak on behalf of Israel, follows the laws of war. We do everything that we can in order to minimize human casualties, innocent civilian casualties. We have sent warnings to areas. We have asked people to clear areas, even in Iran, to make sure that civilian casualties are limited. And we are carrying out pinpoint, incredibly accurate strikes in order to target the ballistic missile program, the nuclear program, and to target the regime in Iran. And that is what we're doing. And we will do everything we can to avoid any form of innocent civilian casualties. Iran, on the other hand, and I think that this is very important, Iran is carrying out everything it can to target civilians. Iran is attacking Israeli centers, population centers in Tel Aviv, in Bet Shemesh. We saw it killed children. Their missiles have killed children, have killed elderly, have killed carers, have killed people from all over. They are attacking hotels. They are attacking energy centers around airports around the region. So it is Iran that is clearly carrying out war crimes, Iran that is doing everything it can to maximize civilian casualties, whereas Israel is doing everything to minimize civilian casualties. And I think we should look at the Iranian people and we should look at the Iranian diaspora that are very clearly saying they welcome this action, they are saying they want this action, and that it is about time that somebody stood up to the brutal regime in Iran that is not only spreading terrorism across the region, including, by the way, in Africa and in Nigeria, but Iran is also not only spreading terror, Iran is also suppressing its own people, and the Iranian people, are the ones who are standing up and saying, we want this, we want someone to take action against this regime. And that's what both Israel and America are doing.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Ambassador. Now, earlier in this interview, you had alluded to sort of the impact that Iran has had on the African continent and specifically on Nigeria. The axis of resistance is very well documented, which is Hezbollah, Houthis, and Hamas. I'd love for you to give us, some of the insight that you have with regards to Iranian influence in Nigerian terrorism, and subsequently, of course, we know that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had spoken about our insecurity challenges here. So is Israel also looking to join the effort that is being made by the United States with regards to joining the fight against terrorism in Nigeria?
Well, those are two very different and
yes, they are.
but I'll answer both of them. But on the first one regarding Iranian involvement in Nigeria, I think that is well documented. We know that there are certain movements. For example, the Islamic movement of Nigeria is sponsored and is backed by the Iranian regime. This is not me saying this. We've seen that documented by the Iranian regime. Ayatollah Khamenei, the supreme leader, posted on X his support and his backing and on there. So that's very open. And there are other areas as well that Iran is working for destabilizing not only Nigeria, but all of West Africa. Apart from that, on your second question, Nigeria and Israel are strong allies, are strong friends. We work together on many areas, and as Prime Minister Netanyahu said, we are willing and we are eager to partner with Nigeria according to Nigeria's needs and according to Nigeria's desires in order to help tackle instability within Nigeria, again, according to Nigerian needs and Nigerian desires and wishes.
For what una don hear, what una think, make una drop an opinion at the comment section. Share this video to everyone on every social media platform. Don't forget to click the subscribe button for more updates.